Why do we die physically? Is the question that is asked today.
Why do we die physically?
Why do we die physically?
That's a
great question.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
You know, it's actually such a great question. I've never been asked it. You get asked different questions. What happens when we leave this, when we die? What happens when we die? And things like that, but never really why do we die? Have I been asked that question? I think it's a great question to ask. And simply put, reason why we die is sin.
And in one word, there it is.
Sin.
That's why sin.
One word, sin is what puts us to death. That is Romans chapter 6, verse number 23. The wages of sin is death.
That's right.
And going back to the very beginning of creation, Genesis 3, sin entered into the world, didn't it?
That's right. That's a verse that came to my mind. I was going to Romans chapter 5, verse 12. I had to double check my notes to make sure I was in the right place there. Is whenever he says that, therefore, just as though one man, through one man, sin entered the world, and death through sin, thus death spread to all men because all sinned.
Absolutely. All are partaken. And what that lets us know is sometimes people get upset at Adam and Eve and really hold it to their charge. But what that lets us know is that it wasn't Adam and Eve, it'd been somebody else.
Exactly. It's the nature of
nature
mankind.
Of man was the problem. Nature of man was the problem. We're not robots, free moral agents.
That's right.
Have the ability to make decisions, and it would have been somebody.
And just to clarify, we got to remember that whenever we read the creation account, after God looked at everything, he said, it is very good. Very good. Death was not part of his creation.
Not part of it.
And as a matter of fact, we know that because of passages like Revelation chapter 20. You know, so at the very end, he says there's just going to be a judgment whenever that vision, he says, I saw the dead, small and great, standing before the throne there. And one of the things it says is that death and Hades will be cast into the lake of fire.
Absolutely.
So it entered into the world that way.
Yes, absolutely. So ultimately, sin is the reason why we have to die physically, but our souls live on, and Jesus gives us the opportunity to have our souls redeemed. So if we adhere to his law and abide in his will, we can have our souls to be redeemed and don't have to worry about that physical death.
Amen.